You ever met someone who's quick to say, "I love you," but when you look at their actions, they're telling a completely different story? That's the first and probably the clearest sign that someone's faking their love, when their words don't match their actions. Love isn't complicated, but lies are. When someone is genuine about how they feel, you don't have to question it, because what they say and what they do line up perfectly. But when it's fake, there's always this little gap, this inconsistency that keeps you second, guessing yourself. Think about it. He tells you he misses you, but days go by and he makes no effort to actually see you. He promises he'll call, but your phone stays silent. He says you're his priority, but when you look at how he spends his time, you're always at the bottom of the list. That gap between his words and his behavior, that's where the truth lies. People can say anything, but actions will always betray what's real. And here's the tricky part. Sometimes those words feel so good that you want to believe them. Because when someone looks you in the eyes and says, "You mean everything to me," it hits deep. It touches that part of you that wants to feel chosen, valued, loved. But then life happens outside those moments, and you're left waiting, wondering why the way he treats you doesn't reflect the love he claims to feel. That waiting is the trap, because the more you sit in it, the more you start to rationalize his behavior. You tell yourself he's just busy, or maybe he shows love differently, but deep down you know, if it's real, you won't have to make excuses for it. Real love doesn't just live in someone's mouth, it shows up in how they move. If he says he respects you, he won't dismiss your feelings. If he says he values you, he'll make time for you, not only when it's convenient. If he says he loves you, you'll see it in his consistency, not just when it benefits him. Because love without action is just performance. It's a script. It's easy to say the lines, but much harder to live them out. And let me tell you, people who are faking it, they rely on those words to cover up their lack of effort. They know the power words carry, so they use them like a shield. They hope you'll get caught up in how sweet it sounds, instead of how empty it feels when you look at the bigger picture. And if you're not careful, you'll cling to those moments of charm and overlook the pattern of neglect. That's why this sign matters so much, because once you catch it, you can't unsee it. Here's the truth. Love doesn't require perfection, but it does require alignment. A man who truly loves you will do what he says he's going to do. He'll show up when he says he will. He'll back up his words with choices, even the small ones, because that's how trust is built. And if you've been stuck with someone whose actions keep falling short of his promises, you don't need more words from him. You need to accept the evidence he's already shown you. Another sign that he's faking his love is when affection only shows up on his terms. You know what I mean. He's sweet, he's attentive, he's all over you when he feels like it. But the moment you need that same energy, suddenly he's distant. Love isn't supposed to be one-sided. It isn't supposed to feel like you're constantly waiting for scraps of affection, only getting it when it's convenient for him. Real love isn't conditional. It doesn't show up when it's easy and disappear when it's hard. Here's the pattern you might notice when he wants something: your attention, your forgiveness, maybe even intimacy. He knows exactly what to say, exactly how to act, to make you feel wanted in that moment. He'll hold your hand, he'll tell you how beautiful you are, he'll lean in close and remind you of how much you mean to him. But when the tables turn, when you're the one needing comfort after a long day, when you're craving reassurance, or when you simply want to feel that love back, he pulls away. Suddenly he's tired, he's busy, or he's just not in the mood. And you're left wondering, why does it feel so real sometimes and so empty other times? That's the trap, because those moments of affection are strong enough to hook you, but inconsistent enough to leave you unsettled. You start to cling to the good moments, convincing yourself, see, he does care, he does love me. But if love is real, you won't have to chase it. You won't have to bargain for attention or feel like you're asking for too much just to be seen. When affection is only on his terms, what he's really showing you is that it's not about you. It's about him. It's about how he feels in the moment, what he needs, what benefits him. And that's not love, that's convenience. Love doesn't wait until the timing is perfect. Love doesn't pick and choose when it feels like showing up. Love shows up in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the ordinary, in the middle of the days when it doesn't feel easy. And here's something important to understand. Genuine love gives without keeping score. It doesn't hold affection hostage until you behave a certain way. It doesn't disappear when you express your needs. It doesn't punish you with silence or distance just because you want to feel cared for. If the only time he shows affection is when it serves him, you're not experiencing love. You're experiencing control. And I get it. Those affectionate moments can feel powerful. They can make you forget about all the times he was cold or dismissive. That's why it's so easy to get stuck in the cycle, because those highs are addictive. But real love doesn't make you starve and then feed you just enough to keep you hanging on. Real love nourishes consistently. It's steady, dependable, and it doesn't disappear when you need it most. So, if you find yourself always waiting for his terms, always hoping that today will be one of those good days, where he finally shows you the love he's been withholding, it's time to step back and see the truth. Because love isn't love if it's only given when it's convenient. Another sign that he's faking his love is when everything stays on the surface. There's no depth, no real emotional connection, just conversations that feel safe and shallow. Think about it. He'll talk about his day, about sports, about work, about what he wants for dinner, but when it comes to sharing what's really going on inside of him, or listening to what's going on inside of you, suddenly there's a wall. Love is supposed to invite intimacy, not just physical, but emotional. And if he avoids going there with you, it's not because he can't, it's because he doesn't want to. When someone truly loves you, they want to know you. Not just the parts you show everyone else, but the parts you keep hidden. They want to understand what excites you, what scares you, what keeps you awake at night. And in return, they're willing to open up their world too. They'll let you see their fears, their dreams, their doubts, because they know that real connection can only grow where honesty exists. But when a man is faking love, that depth never comes. He keeps things light, surface level, because true intimacy would expose that his feelings aren't as strong as his words claim. It might look like this: whenever you bring up the future, where the relationship is going, what he wants long term, he dodges. He changes the subject or gives vague answers that don't really say anything. When you try to talk about your feelings, he makes you feel like you're being dramatic, like you're asking for too much. Or maybe he just shuts down altogether, pulling away emotionally, so you're left talking to a wall. That's not love, that's avoidance. Here's the danger. When you're with someone who keeps everything shallow, you start to adjust. You stop sharing your real feelings because you know they won't be received. You stop asking about the future because you don't want another half answer. Slowly, without realizing it, you shrink yourself to match the depth he's willing to offer. And before long, you're in a relationship where your needs for closeness, for understanding, for connection, are left unmet. That's how fake love leaves you starving, not because you're too needy, but because he never intended to feed those needs in the first place. Love without depth is like a house without a foundation. It might look fine on the outside, but the moment life shakes it, everything crumbles. Because when challenges come, and they always do, shallow words won't hold a relationship together. It takes emotional honesty, trust, and a willingness to be vulnerable. If he's not giving you that, then he's not building something real with you. And let's be clear, this isn't about someone being naturally quiet or private. This is about someone deliberately avoiding emotional connection because they're not invested enough to go there with you. When a man loves you, he doesn't hide behind shallow talk. He leans into the harder conversations because he values the bond you share. He doesn't leave you feeling alone in a relationship that's supposed to be a partnership. So if you find yourself in a situation where everything feels surface level, where you can't remember the last time you had a real heart-to-heart, it's time to ask yourself why. Because love that won't go deep isn't love at all. Another clear sign that he's faking his love is when you realize you're never a priority. You're always the afterthought, the option, the one he gets around to when there's nothing else more exciting or important going on. At first, it might seem harmless. He cancels plans here and there, he shows up late, he's distracted when you're together. But over time, those small patterns start painting a bigger picture, and that picture is this. If someone truly loves you, they make room for you in their life. If they don't, they'll keep pushing you to the side, and no amount of excuses can cover that up. Think about how it feels when he puts everything ahead of you: work, friends, hobbies, even scrolling on his phone. You're the one waiting, the one adjusting, the one always being understanding. But here's the truth. When you really matter to someone, they find ways to include you, not excuses to exclude you. If he can make time for everyone else, but with you it's always too busy. It's not about his schedule. It's about his priorities. Because we all make time for what's important to us. And here's the part that stings. You start to notice that you're the one carrying the effort. You're the one reaching out first, planning the dates, checking in, keeping the connection alive. Meanwhile, he gives you just enough attention to stop you from walking away. That imbalance is exhausting, and it leaves you questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Maybe I should just be patient. But deep down, you know you're not asking for too much. You're asking for the bare minimum: time, effort, consistency. And if he can't give that, it's not because you're difficult, it's because his love isn't real. Real love makes you feel chosen, not sometimes, not only when it's convenient, but consistently. If he only shows up when nothing better is happening, that's not love, that's convenience. If he only makes plans when you remind him, that's not love, that's obligation. And if you constantly feel like you're fighting for a place in his life, that's not love, that's neglect disguised as busyness. What happens over time is that being last starts to wear you down. You start lowering your expectations just to avoid disappointment. You stop asking him to spend time with you because you don't want to hear another excuse. You convince yourself that maybe this is just how relationships work, that maybe being treated as an option is better than being alone. But that's the lie that keeps you stuck, because being loved halfway is not love at all. A man who truly loves you doesn't make you wonder where you stand. He doesn't make you compete with everything else in his life. He makes sure you feel seen, valued, and prioritized, not because you demand it, but because it's natural for him to treat you that way. When someone genuinely loves you, you never feel like you're begging for a spot in their schedule. You never feel like you're too much or like you're taking them away from something more important. You feel secure because their actions show you that you matter. So if you're with someone who constantly pushes you to the bottom of the list, who only fits you in when it works for him, that's not a sign of love, it's a sign of selfishness. One of the most painful signs that his love isn't real is when you're left feeling uncertain and insecure. Real love should give you peace. It should ground you, settle your heart, and make you feel safe. But fake love does the opposite. It keeps you guessing. It keeps you on edge, wondering if you matter, wondering if he really cares, wondering if the relationship is as solid as he claims. And that constant uncertainty isn't love, it's manipulation, whether he realizes it or not. When a man genuinely loves you, you don't have to keep asking yourself, where do I stand with him? His words and his actions align in a way that makes you feel secure. But when he's faking it, you'll notice that you're always left with questions instead of clarity. He says he loves you, but then he disappears when you need him most. He tells you you're his world, but then his behavior makes you feel like you're barely part of it. That back and forth creates confusion, and confusion creates insecurity. And insecurity in love isn't accidental, it's the byproduct of inconsistency. Here's what happens. Over time, you start second guessing yourself. You replay conversations in your head, trying to figure out if you did something wrong. You analyze his tone, his texts, his mood, looking for signs of what he's really feeling. You start walking on eggshells, adjusting your behavior, thinking maybe if you do more, love more, give more, he'll finally give you the certainty you're craving. But the truth is, no matter how much you give, it will never be enough to make fake love feel real. And here's the kicker, he benefits from your insecurity, because as long as you're unsure, you'll keep chasing his approval. You'll keep trying to prove yourself, keep trying to earn the love he pretends to offer. That dynamic keeps the power in his hands and keeps you in a cycle of doubt. Real love doesn't do that to you. Real love doesn't make you question your worth. It affirms it. It builds you up, not breaks you down. It's easy to confuse the uncertainty with passion. You might tell yourself, relationships are supposed to be complicated, or maybe this intensity means we really care. But no, real love doesn't leave you anxious. Real love doesn't make you feel like you're one mistake away from being abandoned. Real love steadies you, even in conflict, even when things aren't perfect. If you're constantly left wondering, does he actually love me? Then you already have your answer. The sad part is, after a while, you start normalizing that uncertainty. You convince yourself that it's just how he is, or that maybe all relationships feel this way. You minimize your own needs because asking for security feels like asking for too much. But listen, asking to feel secure in love is not asking too much. It's asking for the bare minimum. If he truly loves you, you'll feel it in the certainty of his presence, the consistency of his effort, and the peace he brings into your life. So if your relationship constantly leaves you doubting, questioning, or feeling like you're walking a tightrope, it's not love. It's a sign that his love isn't real. Another sign that he's faking his love is when his commitment is conditional. He's all in when things are fun, light, and easy. But the moment challenges show up, his effort starts to fade. Love that's real doesn't just exist in the sunshine. It holds steady in the storms too. Anybody can play the part when everything feels good. But when life gets messy, when sacrifices are needed, when patience is tested, that's when the truth about someone's love shows up. You might notice that when you're celebrating something, he's right there by your side. When you're laughing, when you're going out, when things are exciting, he's present and attentive. But when you're hurting, when you're stressed, when you need him to stand with you through something heavy, suddenly he's distant. He might get irritated, act cold, or even make you feel guilty for needing support. That's not love. That's convenience. Real love doesn't shrink when things get hard. It leans in. And here's the problem. When commitment is conditional, you start to feel unsafe in the relationship. You realize that as long as you're easy to love, he'll stay. But the moment you become human, the moment you need patience, compassion, or grace, he withdraws. That creates a silent fear in you. What happens if I mess up? What happens if I'm not perfect? And before long, you're walking on eggshells, trying to keep everything smooth just so he won't pull away. But love shouldn't make you afraid to be yourself. True commitment means showing up on the good days and the bad ones. It means sticking through the arguments, the misunderstandings, the struggles, because the relationship is bigger than the temporary discomfort. If his love disappears the moment it requires effort, then it was never real to begin with. A man who genuinely loves you doesn't abandon you when things aren't convenient. He doesn't look for the exit door every time life throws a challenge your way. Instead, he proves through his consistency that you can count on him. And let's be real, conditional commitment is often subtle. He won't come out and say, I only love you when it's easy, but his behavior will show it. Maybe he's supportive when everything is going his way, but becomes cold when you need something from him. Maybe he's affectionate when he's in control, but withdrawn when the attention shifts to your needs. Or maybe he talks about forever, but his actions say only until it gets inconvenient. That's the difference between someone playing the part and someone living it out. Here's the truth. Life is unpredictable. Relationships will be tested, and the kind of love that lasts is the kind that remains steady through those tests. You deserve someone who doesn't just love you when it benefits them, but who loves you when it costs them something too: time, patience, sacrifice, compromise, because that's what real commitment looks like. So, if his love feels conditional, if you feel like you only have him on certain terms, that's not love. It's a performance. Love doesn't vanish when it's tested. Love proves itself when it's tested.